Curiosity can be a dangerous thing. I learned that the hard way. It started innocently enough, just another late night spent in front of my laptop, skimming through cybersecurity forums while sipping on an energy drink. I was in my second year at NYU, studying computer science with a focus on security. One night during a seminar, the professor mentioned the dark web, calling it the shadow of the internet. He said it was a place where true anonymity existed, where whistleblowers, journalists, and activists operated away from prying eyes. But it was also where things best left unseen thrived. That comment stuck with me. At first, my interest was purely academic. I wanted to understand the architecture of hidden networks, the encryption behind Tor, and how digital footprints could be erased. I spent weeks reading articles, watching videos, some sensationalized, others deeply technical. I wasn't looking for anything illegal. I just wanted to know what was really out there. One evening, after scouring a forum dedicated to cybersecurity enthusiasts, I stumbled upon a thread titled, "How Deep is the Rabbit Hole?" It wasn't the first time I'd seen discussions like this, but something about the way users described their experiences felt real. They spoke of hidden marketplaces, encrypted chat rooms, and underground communities that functioned outside the law. I had to see it for myself. The first step was surprisingly easy. I downloaded the Tor browser, added a VPN for extra security, and accessed a directory called the Hidden Wiki, a collection of links to various onion sites. Most of them were either outdated, broken, or harmless. I found forums where people discussed privacy tools, ethical hacking, and cybersecurity jobs. Then I found Shadowgate. Shadowgate was different. It wasn't flashy or dramatic. It was a simple black background forum with white text. Nothing more. But its users? They spoke in cryptic messages, warning newcomers to tread carefully. Some threads discussed leaked government files, while others hinted at something darker, live events that only a select few could access. That's when I first saw the name Watcher33. He had posted something vague. Tomorrow, midnight EST, the true experience awaits. Only those with real curiosity will find it. Below his post, dozens of replies flooded in, some skeptical, others excited. Some simply asked, "Where?" Watcher33 didn't respond. A few users dropped hints about private invitations and cryptocurrency payments. They spoke about red rooms, live streams where horrors unfolded for those willing to pay. Some said they were myths, urban legends. Others swore they were real. I wasn't sure what to believe, but I knew one thing. I wasn't going to stop looking. By the next night, my curiosity had turned into something more, a quiet obsession. I spent hours combing through Shadowgate, trying to piece together the cryptic hints left by Watcher33. Most users speculated, throwing out theories, but no one had anything concrete. Then, just before midnight, a new post appeared. For those who seek the truth, prove your curiosity. 0.02 BTC, no refunds, no second chances. Below the message was an encrypted onion link, accessible only through Tor. My hands hovered over the keyboard. I wasn't naive. I knew that sending cryptocurrency to an anonymous stranger was a risk. But I also knew that whatever lay beyond that link was something few people had ever seen. I hesitated for only a moment before transferring the Bitcoin from my wallet. A minute later, another message appeared in my inbox. Payment received. Welcome to the playground. The link took me to a blank page with nothing but a countdown timer. It was set for exactly 24 hours. My stomach tightened. This was real. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I imagined what I might see when the timer hit 0. My rational mind told me this was probably a scam, just another way to exploit people's curiosity. But something about it felt different. The next day I tried to focus on my classes, but my thoughts kept drifting back to the countdown. Every hour that passed made my nerves tighten. What if this was something far worse than I expected? What if I was being watched? At 11:58 p.m. I sat in front of my laptop, heart pounding. 11:59 p.m. Eero. The screen flickered. The page reloaded. A video feed appeared, grainy and washed out in a stark white room. It was silent at first, then the audio crackled to life. A figure stood in the center, their face obscured by a black surgical mask. Behind them was a metal table, and strapped to it was a person, motionless except for the subtle rise and fall of their chest. A chat window appeared beside the video. Messages flooded in. Anonymous 42. Begin. Spectator 77. Use the needle first. Watcher 33. Let's make this one last. My breath caught in my throat. I had found something real. My hands felt numb as I watched the chat explode with messages, short, cold commands from faceless spectators. The figure in the black surgical mask moved with precision, adjusting a tray of instruments beside the table. The person strapped down was awake now, their chest rising and falling in sharp, panicked breaths. Their arms and legs were tightly restrained, and their muffled cries barely made it through the feed's poor audio. I wanted to believe it was staged, that it was some elaborate hoax, but deep down I knew. This wasn't a show. The masked figure picked up a syringe, holding it up to the camera as if waiting for approval. The chat erupted again. Spectator 77. Inject. Let's see how long they last. Anonymous 42. Increased dosage this time. Watcher 33. No interruptions, let it happen. I could barely breathe. My stomach twisted as I watched the needle plunge into the captive's arm. A sharp, strangled cry broke through the speakers. The person thrashed, their back arching as their muscles seized up. Their fingers clawed at the air, veins pulsing beneath pale skin. The chat loved it. Dark Observer. Beautiful. Blood Wraith. More voltage next. I wanted to close the browser. I wanted to unplug everything and pretend I had never seen this. But then I saw my own email address appear in the chat. My blood turned ice cold. It wasn't a mistake. It was my email, my name, flashing in the chat beside a message that made my vision blur. Unknown user. Welcome to the real show. For a second I thought I was imagining it, but then another message appeared. Unknown user. Don't leave now. We see you. I grabbed my laptop, ready to slam it shut, but the screen froze. The video feed kept playing. The chat kept rolling, but my mouse was unresponsive. A new line of text filled the screen. This one wasn't in the chat window. It was right in the middle of the feed, bold and unmistakable. Look outside. My breath hitched. I didn't want to, but my body moved before I could stop it. I turned toward my window, heart hammering against my ribs. Outside, parked across the street, was a black car. Engine running. Headlights off. Someone was inside. Watching. I stumbled back from the window, my pulse roaring in my ears. This wasn't paranoia. Someone was actually out there. The chat continued to scroll, filling with laughter, as if they knew I had seen the car. Unknown user. Too late to back out. Watcher 33. Your turn now. My laptop screen flickered. The video feed shifted. Instead of the room with the captive, the camera now displayed a live feed of my apartment building. A grainy, static-filled shot from outside. They weren't just watching. They were here. I lunged for the power button, but before I could shut everything down, the chat filled with one last message. Unknown user. Open the door. At that moment, I heard it. A slow, deliberate knock at my apartment door. My stomach dropped. My mind screamed at me to run, hide, do anything but answer. But my body was frozen, paralyzed between fight and flight. The knock came again. 3 steady taps. I backed away from my desk, my legs shaking. My front door had a peephole, but I didn't dare look. I didn't want to see who was standing on the other side. Then my phone buzzed. A new notification. Unknown number. If you don't open it, we will. I bolted. I grabbed my phone, my wallet, and ran straight out the fire escape. I didn't stop to think. Didn't even breathe until I was several blocks away, my lungs burning from the cold night air. I found a motel on the edge of the city and locked myself inside the tiny room, trembling as I tried to process what had just happened. When I finally gathered the courage, I turned on my phone. There was a single message waiting for me. Unknown user. You can't erase what you saw. I wiped everything. Tor, my Bitcoin wallet, my browser history. It didn't matter. I knew they still had something on me. My name, my address, maybe even my face from my webcam. I never went back. But the damage was already done. Because even now, weeks later, I still wake up in a cold sweat. Because even now I feel like I'm being watched. And because even now when my apartment is silent in the middle of the night, I still hear 3 steady knocks at my door. Lines of code scrolled down the screen as Logan Carter adjusted his glasses and took a sip of his now cold coffee. The only light in his cramped Chicago apartment came from his monitors, casting eerie shadows against the walls. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and the faint hum of his computer tower, a familiar atmosphere that had become his world. Tonight was supposed to be routine, a quick scan of encrypted forums, a sweep through compromised data logs, and another step toward dismantling the filth that lurked in the darkest corners of the internet. But the email sitting in his inbox had changed everything. It was anonymous, no traceable metadata, no sender. Just a single message containing a link and a name. Emily Brooks, 10 years old. Logan hesitated. He had seen things that could never be unseen, uncovered horrors that made the worst crime reports look tame. But something about this felt different. The link wasn't from the usual underground networks. It was something else, something disturbingly polished. He clicked. A website unfolded before him, sleek, professional, and alarmingly quiet in its design. No flashing ads, no grotesque showcases, just a clean black background with a golden insignia at the center, Elysium's Gate. A simple login prompt appeared. No sign-ups, no forgotten password links. You either had access or you didn't. Logan's fingers hovered over the keyboard. Whoever built this wasn't just some amateur running an illicit trade. This was high-level, meticulously crafted. He had cracked hundreds of sites, but something about this one made his pulse quicken. Then he saw it, a live auction timer ticking down from 24 hours. Emily Brooks wasn't just listed, she was about to be sold. Logan's hands moved on their own, fingers flying across the keyboard as he worked to tear into the site's defenses. Layers of encryption wrapped around the platform like armor, crafted by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. Each failed attempt was met with an instant countermeasure, a silent warning that someone was watching. He leaned back, exhaling through clenched teeth. This wasn't a site he could crack in minutes. It would take hours, maybe even days, and Emily didn't have that kind of time. Thinking fast, he rerouted his approach, targeting one weak link, a minor back-end misconfiguration, something even the best programmers occasionally overlooked. It wasn't a direct way in, but it gave him access to traces of activity, whispers of data moving behind the scenes. The first breakthrough came in the form of a geolocation ping. Las Vegas. Not precise, but enough to narrow things down. His pulse quickened as he sifted through the data fragments. A few purchases, cryptic usernames, and then a name hidden in the logs. Marcus Holloway. A quick search revealed more than just an underground broker, a well-connected investor with a pristine public image. He owned multiple properties, including a private estate on the outskirts of Vegas, the kind of place where people disappeared. Logan's stomach turned. He had cracked plenty of sites, uncovered plenty of monsters, but this was different. This was an operation, and Emily was running out of time. Logan leaned back in his chair, staring at the name on his screen. Marcus Holloway, a man who had built a reputation as a successful investor, a philanthropist, someone who appeared on business magazine covers smiling next to CEOs and politicians. A man whose hands, Logan now knew, were stained with horrors that would never make the headlines. But Holloway wasn't the only lead. Logan still had Emily Brooks to track down. Switching tactics, he ran her name through every database he had access to. Missing persons reports, school records, archived social media posts. The results were unsettling. She had disappeared 3 months ago from a quiet suburb outside of Seattle. No major news coverage, no police alerts, no desperate social media posts from family members pleading for her return. Instead, he found something far stranger. Her parents, Greg and Amanda Brooks, had been an average middle-class family until right around the time she vanished. Then things changed. Through financial tracking tools, Logan found a massive deposit into their bank account, followed by lavish purchases. A new car, a luxury vacation, renovations on their home. Their social media, once filled with typical family moments, had turned into a parade of expensive outings and designer clothes. It didn't make sense. Where does a middle-class family suddenly get that kind of money? Unless they were paid. Logan's fingers tensed around his coffee mug. They sold her, her own parents. A wave of nausea hit Logan, but he didn't have time for anger. He forced himself to keep going, digging deeper into Elysium's gate. It took another hour of relentless work, but he finally found it. A hidden directory, a live stream page. He clicked. The screen flickered and then it appeared. A dark room dimly lit by a single hanging bulb, concrete walls, a chair in the center, and Emily. She sat frozen, eyes wide with fear, her small hands gripping the edges of the chair. She was wearing a white dress that looked too big for her, and she flinched at the sound of a door creaking off screen. Logan's stomach churned. The auction clock at the bottom of the screen read 19 hours, 42 minutes. But there was something else. A chat window ran alongside the video, filled with numbered usernames placing bids in real time. $5,000, $8,200, $10,000. Logan's breathing turned shallow. This wasn't just a website, it was an industry, and Emily was running out of time. Logan's hands moved faster than his thoughts, his fingers flying across the keyboard as he tried to rip through the auction system. He needed to shut this down, now. But whoever built Elysium's gate was leagues ahead of the usual dark web scum he had dealt with before. Layers of encryption, decoy IPs, mirrored servers. Every step he took was met with resistance. Frustration burned in his chest. He didn't have time for this. Switching gears, he targeted something easier to breach, the payment system. If he could disrupt transactions, he could at least slow the process down. As he dug in, he found something even more valuable. A connection between Marcus Holloway and the Brooks family. A $250,000 transfer. The date? 2 days after Emily went missing. Logan clenched his jaw. That was the price of a child's life. A new notification popped up. Incoming message. For a split second, his heart pounded. Had he been detected? But it wasn't from the auction site. It was a secure email from an encrypted address. Stop now, before it's too late. Logan's fingers hesitated. Someone was watching him, and they were already one step ahead. Logan wasn't the type to back down, especially not now. Whoever sent that message had made a mistake. They had acknowledged him. If they knew about him, that meant he was getting close. He made a quick decision. The Brooks family was the weakest link. They weren't criminals, just cowards who had made a deal with the devil. If he could get to them, maybe he could break them. Pulling up an old black hoodie, he left his apartment for the first time in days, heading toward the Brooks' new luxury home in Bellevue, Washington. The neighborhood was a stark contrast to where they had lived before. Gated, pristine, a place where people pretended bad things didn't happen. Greg Brooks opened the door, his confident expression faltering when he saw the man in the hoodie. "Who the hell are you?" Logan didn't waste time. He pulled out a phone, showing the auction page. Emily's picture, the countdown. Amanda Brooks gasped, hands flying to her mouth. Greg turned pale. "You think I don't know what you did?" Logan's voice was sharp, controlled. "I know exactly where that money came from." Amanda started sobbing. Greg's hands balled into fists, but he looked more terrified than angry. "Listen to me," Logan continued. "You're going to tell me everything you know about Marcus Holloway. Or I swear, I'll make sure your comfortable little life burns to the ground." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then Greg spoke. "You don't understand. Holloway Day, he doesn't forgive. If we talk, we're dead." Logan's blood ran cold. Holloway wasn't just a trafficker. He was a hunter. And Logan had just made himself prey. Greg Brooks's words lingered in Logan's mind as he drove back to his apartment. Holloway doesn't forgive. It didn't matter. Logan had come too far to back out now. As soon as he stepped inside, his laptop screen flickered to life on its own. The code he had left running was no longer working. His system had been breached. A video feed popped up. A man in a white mask stared directly at the camera. His voice was calm, controlled. "You should have stopped." Logan's muscles tensed. They had found him. The screen glitched. The video changed. Security camera footage. Logan's apartment building. The front door. Someone was already inside. He moved fast, grabbing a small external hard drive loaded with all the evidence he had gathered. Emily's records, the auction logs, Holloway's transactions. If he didn't get out now, all of it would disappear with him. A loud knock at his door. Then another. Logan didn't wait to see who it was. He bolted. Logan ran, down the stairs, through the back exit. His mind raced as fast as his legs. Where could he go? His apartment was compromised. His systems were burned. Holloway's people were closing in. But he had one last play. He sprinted toward a public library, one of the few places where he could access a computer without being tracked. The moment he logged in, he uploaded everything. The auction records, the financial transactions, Emily's profile, the Brooks confession. He sent it to every major news outlet, the FBI, Interpol, hundreds of people. Elysium's gate wouldn't stay in the dark any longer. A new email appeared on the screen. No sender, just a message. "You don't win this game." Logan smiled bitterly. He didn't need to win. He just needed to break them. 2 days later, the headlines exploded. Massive dark web trafficking ring exposed. Elysium's gate taken down in FBI raid. Marcus Holloway, missing, presumed dead. But Logan knew better. Holloway wasn't gone. The dark web never lets go of its ghosts. And now, Logan was one of them. The summer heat clung to the city like a heavy blanket. The air smelled of grilled burgers and gasoline as I leaned against my car, finishing the last few sips of my soda. Across from me, Sophia Carter laughed, her blonde hair catching the neon glow of the diner sign. It was a perfect night, until my phone buzzed. Unknown caller. I frowned. Probably a telemarketer. But something about the way the phone vibrated in my hand made my stomach twist. I swiped to answer. "Daniel Foster?" a deep voice asked. "Who's asking?" "This is Special Agent Miller with the FBI. I need you to come to our Denver field office immediately. It's urgent." I froze. FBI? What the hell? I glanced at Sophia, who was still smiling, completely unaware that my whole world had just tilted on its axis. "Is this some kind of joke?" I asked. "I assure you, it's not," the agent said. "It's a matter of life and death, Daniel. Your life." My breath hitched. The line went dead. Sophia noticed my expression change. "What's wrong?" I didn't know what to say. How do you tell someone you just got a call from the FBI telling you your life is in danger? The FBI building felt colder than it should have. Bright lights, stark walls, the kind of place that makes you feel guilty even if you've done nothing wrong. 2 agents led me to a small room with a metal table and a single chair. No windows, no clocks, just the quiet hum of an air vent above my head. Agent Miller sat across from me, folding his hands. "I'll be direct, Daniel. Someone has hired a contract killer to take you out." I blinked. The words didn't register at first. "What?" He slid a folder across the table. I hesitated before opening it. Inside were screenshots of a dark web forum, a username and my name, bold and clear. My address, my car, My photo. A sharp chill ran down my spine. A site called Red Veil, Miller continued. A known marketplace for murder for hire. We intercepted this order in time. That's the only reason you're still breathing. I felt my pulse hammering in my ears. Who did this? We don't know, Miller admitted. The transaction was made in Bitcoin and the buyer used encrypted servers. But make no mistake, this isn't a prank. Someone paid $8,000 to ensure your death. The room suddenly felt smaller. We need you to take precautions, he added. Change your routine, stay in safe locations, do not be alone. I barely heard him. My brain was stuck on one thing. Who hates me enough to want me dead? I barely remembered the drive home. The world outside the car window blurred into streaks of neon and passing headlights. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles ached, but I couldn't loosen them. Someone wanted me dead. Sophia sat beside me quiet for the first time all night. When I pulled into my driveway, she finally spoke. Daniel, what are you going to do? I had no answer. The FBI told me to take precautions, but how do you prepare for an invisible enemy? I couldn't call the police for protection. They didn't even know who was after me. I couldn't run because I had no idea where the threat was coming from. There was only one thing I could do. Find out who placed the hit on me before it was too late. That night I called Tyler Grayson, an old friend from college. He was a cybersecurity expert, the kind of guy who could hack into just about anything given enough time. Daniel? His voice was groggy. It's past midnight, man. I need your help, I said. Now. 20 minutes later, I was at his apartment, staring at the glow of his multiple monitors. He cracked his knuckles and started digging. Red Veil, huh? Tyler muttered, typing rapidly. This place is nasty. You don't just stumble onto a site like this. You need Tor browsers, VPN chains. Whoever ordered this knows what they're doing. I watched as he bypassed encryption layers and found an active listing with my name. A user named Dark Spectre had uploaded my photo along with a disturbingly detailed description of my daily routine. Then I saw the worst part. A timer. Jesus, Tyler whispered. This contract goes live in 48 hours. My stomach twisted. Less than 2 days before someone tried to kill me. Who the hell is Dark Spectre? I asked. Tyler shook his head. Whoever it is, they're covering their tracks well, but there's something weird. He zoomed in on a line of code. Look at this. The payment came from an American-based IP address, but they're using a British spelling pattern. I leaned closer. You mean, like favorite instead of favorite? Exactly, Tyler confirmed. This person might not be American, or at least they weren't born here. My mind raced. Someone foreign, someone tech-savvy, someone with a reason to hate me. Then it hit me. Oliver Bennett. A year ago, Oliver and I had a falling out over Sophia. He had feelings for her, and when she chose me, things got ugly. At first, it was just passive-aggressive comments, but then he started getting obsessed with the dark web. He used to joke about how you could hire a hitman online if you had the right connections. Could it really be him? Tyler dug deeper. I'll check for any connection between Oliver and Dark Spectre, but it's gonna take time. Time. That was the one thing I didn't have. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered hesitantly. You're running out of time, Daniel. The voice was distorted, robotic. See you soon. The line went dead. A cold, paralyzing fear gripped me. This wasn't just a game. The hitman was watching. The walls of my apartment felt too thin. Every shadow outside my window looked like a figure waiting to strike. I kept checking my phone, expecting another call, another warning. But the silence was worse. I wasn't safe here. I grabbed a duffel bag, stuffed it with essentials, and called Sophia. I need to disappear for a while. She was silent for a moment. Where are you going? I don't know yet. Come to my place, she said. You'll be safer here. The offer made sense, but something in her tone felt off. Or maybe I was just paranoid. I ignored the unease and drove to Colorado Springs, checking my rearview mirror every few seconds. If someone was following me, I couldn't see them. Tyler called as I pulled into Sophia's driveway. I found something. I put the car in park, but didn't get out. Tell me. There's no connection between Oliver and Dark Spectre, but get this. Whoever placed the hit changed their request. Originally, they wanted a kidnapping. Then, a day later, they switched to murder. A chill ran through me. Why would someone change their mind like that? Then Tyler said something that made my blood turn to ice. The date they switched from kidnapping to murder. It's the exact day you told Sophia you loved her. I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, feeling like I'd been hit by a freight train. No, it couldn't be. I forced myself to breathe, to think logically. It had to be a coincidence. It had to be. But a part of me, the part that had been on edge since this started, was screaming that it wasn't. I stepped out of the car, my body moving on autopilot. Sophia greeted me at the door with a hug, but I barely felt it. "I'm glad you're here," she whispered. I wanted to believe her. I really did. Later that night, while she was in the shower, I searched her apartment. My hands trembled as I opened drawers, checked under the bed. I didn't even know what I was looking for, until I found a laptop tucked away in her closet. I hesitated before opening it. And then, I saw it. The browser history. The Tor network logs. The login to Red Veil. Dark Spectre. My breath caught in my throat. The hit wasn't placed by Oliver, it was Sophia all along. She wasn't trying to protect me. She was trying to get rid of me. I heard the water shut off in the bathroom. She was coming. I had seconds to decide what to do. My heart pounded as I closed the laptop, shoving it back into the closet exactly how I found it. My hands were slick with sweat, my breathing shallow. I needed to act normal. If she suspected that I knew, I wouldn't make it out of here alive. The bathroom door creaked open and Sophia stepped out, towel wrapped around her. She smiled when she saw me sitting on the bed, pretending to scroll through my phone. "Everything okay?" she asked, drying her hair. I forced a smile. "Yeah, just tired." "Good," she said, stepping closer. "You're safe here." I wanted to laugh at the irony. As she moved around the room, I replayed every moment in my head, every hug, every whispered promise, every time she'd told me she was worried about my safety. She had been playing both sides, keeping me close while making sure her plan was still in motion. I needed to get out, but I also needed to end this. My phone vibrated. "Tyler." I answered it, keeping my voice casual. "Hey man, what's up?" "You need to leave," he whispered urgently. "Now." I stood up. "Why?" "They just updated the contract." Tyler's voice was tight with panic. "The hitman's making a move tonight, and the client, Sophia, just confirmed the location." I turned to look at her, and for the first time I noticed the way she was watching me, like she was waiting for something. She knew. She knew I knew. And suddenly, she wasn't smiling anymore. For a second, neither of us moved. It was a standoff without guns. Then Sophia took a slow step forward. "Daniel, you're acting weird. What's wrong?" I tried to play it off, but she saw right through me. "You went through my stuff, didn't you?" she whispered, her voice dangerously calm. I didn't answer. She sighed. "I didn't want to do this myself, but I will if I have to." Then she lunged. I barely dodged as she grabbed something from the nightstand, a pocket knife. I stumbled backward, crashing into the dresser. My instincts took over. I grabbed the lamp and smashed it against the floor, the sharp sound distracting her just enough for me to make a run for the door. I sprinted down the hall, my feet barely touching the ground. Behind me, I heard her footsteps pounding after me. I yanked open the front door just as headlights flashed across the driveway. A black car screeched to a stop. The hitman. I had nowhere to run. Sophia grabbed my wrist, yanking me back. "It's over, Daniel." Then, gunshots. Sophia's grip loosened as she staggered backward, her expression frozen in shock. Blood bloomed on her shirt as she collapsed to the ground. I turned just in time to see FBI agents swarming the scene, their guns trained on the black car. The hitman, whoever they were, didn't even get a chance to react before being tackled to the pavement. Agent Miller stepped forward, lowering his weapon. "You okay, kid?" I nodded, my chest heaving. How did you know?" "Your friend called us," he said, nodding toward Tyler, who stood on the sidewalk shaking. "You owe him your life." I swallowed hard and looked down at Sophia. Her breathing was shallow, her eyes fluttering as the blood pooled beneath her. She looked at me one last time and whispered, "It was supposed to be perfect." Then her eyes closed. Weeks later, I sat in my new apartment staring at my laptop screen. The FBI had shut down Red Veil, at least temporarily, but I knew better. There would always be another site, another contract, another name on the list. I still jumped at every unknown number that called me, still checked my surroundings whenever I went out, because deep down I knew the truth. Sophia wasn't the only one who wanted me dead. Somewhere out there, another dark specter was waiting for their turn. And next time, I might not be so lucky.